So it is Thursday, and we've had another update with a lot of stuff added to the game and changed. You can see here under new content, there is a lot of stuff here, and even beyond the new content, a lot of existing stuff has been changed and improved too. So the main thing in this update is by far and away this new advisor system. This is quite game-changing in a fair few ways. The easiest way I can sort of sum it up is it's like a tavern friendship system, but for the buildings in your city rather than your commanders. I'm sure I'm going to end up spending, I don't even know, 5-10 minutes going over that in this video, so before we get to that, some quick fire things. First, Siege of Winterfell improvements. They've reduced the healing costs, first of all. It's always been a very expensive event to play. This should hopefully make it a bit less oppressive. Adjusted the initial rank points of the tournament and increased the bonus of victory points. This is probably a change to counteract dropping points for your first match to get easier matchups, and maybe also not registering for the final match. Because if they increase the winning points to, say, I don't know, 500, I'm sure it won't be that high, people could overtake you in that 6th match a lot easier than they would have been able to before. So that should go some ways to alleviate those two problems. I do hope it's a relevant increase, because if it's just a small one, it won't really change anything. We have no way to know yet how relevant it will be. Reduce the points bonus for escorting Winterfell resource, so instead of increasing by 1,000 points every time, it's now just 500, as you can see here. So escort starts at 3,500 and scales up to 8,500. I don't know why they're listing so many points up here, because it takes a minimum, let's say 2 minutes to escort the package. It only spawns every 5 minutes after you cap it, and only starts generating at 12 minutes, so it's mathematically impossible to cap more than 6 of these. So of those numbers, the highest you'll be able to get to is 6,000 here. Maybe this is an indication of the other change which was listed, which says added relocate function in Battlefield reduces the time lords spend rushing around the battlefield. Please see in-game rules. I've looked at the in-game rules and I can't see any mention of this anywhere. If anyone has seen mention of this in here, then let me know. The way it reads is as if there's sort of like a teleport system added, but there's no mention of this anywhere as far as I can tell, and the map certainly isn't any different either. So I think we're going to have to wait until we can actually play a match to see exactly how that's going to go, but that is quite a lot of changes to Siege of Winterfell. Realistically, I'd expect the main problems of it being so snowbally to remain, and I doubt it will change the functionality too much. It's probably all in the hands of this relocate function and exactly how that works. We have Cossomo added, who seems to be a bow version of Sarara Vorian and Kasana. Again, I'm probably going to talk about him for quite a long time, so I'll leave that for now. The other relevant things which have been changed, which you probably want to be aware of, are in the Valor shop here. They have added race boots, 50% and 75%. 75% especially, very, very hard to restock, especially if you're not spending. This, in addition with the buffs to the wheel that gives them and a few other things, is making restocking these a lot easier. And they have also changed the prediction shop. If you were betting consistently last UC, you should have excess prediction feathers because you could easily buy out the shop. If you do, you can then buy these new items, which are 14-day voucher for City of Stars, 50% boots, 75% boots, and the Edge of Danger photo, which has currently only been available through AM. It's a photo which is exclusive to that, so this is another way of finishing that. No one in the game will be able to have this completed currently, so it's another photo to get done. And then I think that is everything. There is quite a significant change to elite events, but that's tied into this new advisor system. So this new system you can access through the council hall, which is what was the marriage building. The marriage part of it is still accessible here through the ceremonial tab, but you now have 4 new tabs: supply management, dispatch advisor, advisor, and advisor visit. So as you can see, even the UI feels quite a lot like the tavern, and we have this new set of advisors who can offer us a variety of buffs dependent on which buildings they're assigned to. These are all of those which you can get. To get them, you visit in this tab. You can get these visit scrolls currently through the time-limited event of the release of the system, and you can also buy 10 a week from in here with diamonds. It refreshes weekly, and there will also be 10 in here which you can buy with glow coins. So recycling these glow coins is what I was referring to with the elite and normal events. You do it in here, you can recycle most items in the game here, including a lot of just trash ones, so research speed-ups especially for pretty much everyone who has an established account at this point can just be infinitely recycled into this to forever buy out everything they need here in the supply shop realistically, and they can also be used to finish those elite and normal events. Everything in here has varying recycling ratios. You can see there 24-hour research speed up as 1440. A epic token in comparison will have quite a lot more, and you can easily just swap them in and out at will by just using the UI like that. It's quite intuitive, isn't very complicated. Past the advisor visit tokens in the supply shop, the main thing you'll be spending these glow coins on will be these potions, which will be needed to keep up the energy of your advisors which are giving buffs. The quickest way to do this, I imagine, will just be quick restore, and you'll just want to pre-buy up all these potions so you don't really have to think about it, because doing it individually will just be an absolute nightmare. So you get advisors through here. The advisors then can be assigned to varying buildings, as you can see in here, and give different buffs. They can only be assigned to one building at a time. There will normally be an obvious pick for this. I mean, a lot of these are just useless, so I don't overly care. But here, for example, fortification construction speed or enemy total defense reduction, you're obviously going to want the enemy total defense reduction, so there's not really a choice there. You just put them on your dungeon. You can continuously upgrade these to increase the stats when you have duplicate versions of them, and then that's where these experience scrolls will be used as well. So I don't want to make it too complicated. You unlock them, you then slot them into your buildings in here. Then, when they're slotted into your buildings, they will use up 1 energy or stamina per hour. You can see in the rules here, advisors expend 1 stamina per hour after being dispatched to work in various buildings. When their stamina reaches 0, they will enter the fatigue status and stop providing advisor bonuses. So 100 stamina will last you approximately 4 days, and every 4 days you're going to want to use that quick restore button to just keep them all topped off, and you're going to want to make sure you have enough of these potions to keep refreshing their stamina over and over to keep those buffs running. So it's quite intimidating because it's new, but realistically it seems to be quite a simple system which we'll all get used to, and we'll be able to get some nice improvements to our account from and continuously upgrade these to get higher and higher buffs. One final thing to be aware of in the screen before I move on is this advanced exchange bit. You can get, through exchanging the excess dragon essences, tens of thousands of marks of the true dragon, depending on how much you have stocked up, and thousands of days of speed ups from exchanging technology scrolls. The way I've communicated this part, at least in HOH, is do this now because this might be nerfed when I traded this in, I got over 6,000 days speed ups because I had like 1,500 and something technology scrolls, and you get 4 per technology scroll. So that is ridiculous. It's obviously a bigger jump at first because you're trading in all the hoarded ones, but that is kind of crazy. This will also be a way to level up your Tyrion weapons through this as well. But technology scrolls now actually become quite valuable because of this, because they're just so much value when you consider that trade-in. So with Iron Bank, for example, you're going to want to be putting in technology scrolls into this. I wasn't putting it into mine because they were irrelevant before. Now you're going to want to be getting technology scrolls for sure. The recruitment pass too, the 100 Black Diamond Hero Decree. Even if you have everything else, it's I think 94 or 96 days worth of technology scrolls in here. So you get like 6 at level 100. And there's a few stages of it as you go down. Yeah, 4 there. I'm pretty sure I've missed one. 5 there. There's another 5 there. Maybe one more. 10 at the start. Another 5 there. I might have missed this 10 at the start actually when I was mathing it previously. So I think it's over 100 days speed ups from this hero decree. So that 100 Black Diamond purchase has now exploded in value if you're broke and you haven't been buying that. This will now be a huge source of speed ups. So that'll be very useful and very relevant. And I'll probably do a full deep dive into this system when we've been able to progress it a bit more and understand all the upgrading mechanics and all of that. I'm trying to be slightly generic in this video as an update review. And the only other thing which has been added in this is the release of Cossomo. So like I said, it is a Vorian, Kasana, Sarara equivalent. You have your bow attack, your total health, and then an archer damage increase. So for Vorian, this is increased damage against cavalry. I guess for bows, increasing your damage against other bows would just be a bit terrible since so few people run it, but they've just made it a generic damage increase. Remember, all of these will be multiplied up by 60% when at 3 stars, so that'll be a very significant damage increase there. For some reason, the Awakening ability isn't viewable. It's not in the game yet, so we don't know exactly what this is going to be. We can see in the little biography here, the pronouns used are he, because I wasn't entirely sure if this is a man or woman, to be honest. But it is a man, which means it won't work with the female synergy, obviously. So it won't be reprocced by Layla or Kasana or Salma, which doesn't fit into the existing bow synergy. So perhaps this is going to be a bow synergy enabler and move bows away from female, because if he's just a raw value commander and you still want to run him with female, that just doesn't really make sense, considering he's definitely going to be a premium commander, and he'll almost certainly cost the $5,500 by default to gold before discounts. What we can see are his guard skills, which are relevant because I've seen a lot of people say he's very good against rebel leaders, which I am skeptical of. I've seen people say he's like a new Theon, he can replace Theon. I disagree with that heavily. And we can also see his RTS skill. If we go into Siege of Winterfell, available commanders, and scroll to the bottom. So you can see there increases the Bowman attack and health of commanded troops by 1,200 for 10 seconds. So it's the exact same as Kasana, Vorian, and Sarara. And then it has a passive. When the commander is deployed, each of the commanded troops attacks. So because it's a passive, this will work with special bows in All Out War, since it's not a skill. Each of the commanded troops' attacks has a 20% chance to inflict a stack of corrosion on the enemy. Enemies inflicted with corrosion increase damage taken by 20% for 3 seconds, stacks to 3 times. So I think this is also pretty terrible, for pretty much the same reason as I'm skeptical of him against rebel leaders. and it's the fact that the buff only lasts for 3 seconds. So it's a 20% chance to debuff. You attack once a second. So it's proccing once every, 5 seconds. Can be increased a bit with Baelish. And then when it procs, you'll do 20% increased damage, but it will fall off again in 3 seconds. So that stacks up to 3 times text. When is that ever going to stack up to 3 times? If it triggered every time you attacked, sure, but it's a very low trigger rate and a very low duration. The good thing about it is it reads like all your teammates will also deal increased damage. And I mean, it's not like it's dog shit, right? It's just what you'd be wanting from a commander that will cost this much would be a lot more, I think. And then if we go back to his guard skill as well. So I've seen people say he's the new Theon. He's a replacement to Theon. They've somehow made the tooltip worse and more bugged with less information than it was in Pioneer, which doesn't really make sense. They've adjusted the numbers a bit as well. So on Pioneer, this was 40%. This was 10%. This was, instead of reduces the enemy's base defense, this was reduces the enemy's defense by 5%. Base defense, in the context of guard skills, makes no sense at all, to be honest, because they have like thousands of defense. So I'm not entirely sure what reducing their base defense is really meant to mean. The theory with it, though, is active cast stacks Plague 3 times, his normal attack stack Plague, and then Plague will have him dealing increased damage with this passive here, which is true. The issue is, again, Plague reads like it expires after 5 seconds, so this will stack it 3 times. This you'll be getting, 1 stack every 5 seconds, basically. 1 stack every 5 seconds, if it expires in 5 seconds, is basically a 30% damage increase. This will be a decent spike for a bit, but again, it will just expire. So the comparisons I've seen to Theon, for example, I mean, first of all, we can't see his stats, so we don't know what his attack or prowess or anything like that is. But just keeping those numbers in mind, like this being a 30% damage increase, if we look at Theon's, go to his guard skills. So first of all, he has like 11k attack stats, which is very high. We don't know what Cossomo's will be. And then we look at his active, which is what makes him good. When he casts it, increases his attack by 11,644. So as soon as that casts, his damage doubles immediately. So again, remember, Cossomo is just like 30% damage increase from his passive. That's a 100% damage increase, and then it keeps stacking over the fight, and you'll go to a 200%, 300, 400, 500% damage increase. It will be higher than 30% for Cossomo because of his active as well, but trying to compete with Theon, I can't see that happening. Maybe he'll be alright, and he could go alongside Theon, but I can't see that skill set being that competitive with him. The catch will be if the defense decrease will be super valuable, but if you look at Sonara, for example, her passive here, reduce the defense of your enemy's army by 753, and doesn't expire as far as I know. So that's fairly similar in functionality to Cossomo's there. And she also has all these, like, adds 4,485 to attack. In terms of a percentage damage increase to her natural attack, that's more of a damage increase than Cossomo's Plague application passive will be from his normal attacks. And she's also getting attack buffs through other things. And obviously Sonara isn't that good for rebels. She's good against spears, but you're never going to be using her against, say, like other infantry rebels just because of her pure value. So I'm a bit skeptical about Cossomo being amazing for rebels because of that, because the standards of what he's going to have to be kicking out will be very high. And for most people, it'll only be, grey or green at best, trying to fit him into formations. If there is any unexpected functionality with the stacks not dropping every 5 seconds, he will be very good though. If you can just keep it at the 20 stacks to get plus 600% damage, that would be really, really good. It's just, will that actually be the case? The way it reads to me right now, where no one can test it yet, it doesn't read like that would be possible, to me at least. But yeah, overall, this is another really nice update. The advisor system seems like a very nice addition. It's a nice thing to add to our daily routine, another thing to grind towards and improve our accounts with. And yeah, fair play to the devs. This is a very, very solid update.